Hello, gospel community leaders. I am going to try to stay faithful to my promise at boot camp to give you all a coaching session once a month that will be influential in how you lead and impact your gospel community group. And so today, excuse me, is going to be the first one of those. And so what I want to do is spend a little bit of time talking about social media and digital communications. I believe that there is gospel impact at our fingertips when it comes to digital communications and social media. And when I talk about digital communications and social media, I'm referring to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm also referring to the city. I'm also referring to email and text messaging, phone calls, all those sources and opportunities that we use to do that. Now today, as you watch this, you will see that all of these apply to social medias, the social media outlets, and most of what we'll talk about applies to email and text messaging and things like that. And I want to be real clear about something up front. This is not going to be about how much you should use social media. I'm going to include some links below that address a lot of different issues in depth about how we use social media as Christians and how we use social media as leaders. And it goes into a lot of details that I'm not even going to go into today. But if you're curious about going deeper into this issue, then you'll have that opportunity below through some of those links. But today, what I really want to just kind of hone in on is at the amount that you already use these things. And again, I'm not trying to turn emailers into city users. I'm not trying to say you need to start using Facebook. I'm not trying to say any of that today. I'm saying the social media and the digital communications that you currently use have a deep opportunity or a great opportunity for gospel impact right at your fingertips. And so I want us to be intentional and how we use these different opportunities. And so that's what this is all about. Again, just to be very, very clear, this is not about you need to use one method or use another method. This isn't about using one method more than you use another method or using something more than you already do. It's not about that. It's about the rhythms that already exist within your use of Facebook and Twitter and the city and Instagram and email and text messaging. How are we going to intentionally use those things for gospel impact? And so I want to make that very, very clear from the beginning. And again, I just want to clarify, I'm not going to, there should be, these are very, very powerful tools that can lead to a lot of negatives or a lot of positives. And as Christians, we do have a responsibility to look into and prayerfully consider how we handle these tools of digital communications and social media. And so a lot of the links below are gonna help you with that. But what I want to talk about today is just basically how you're currently using them. How can we be intentional in that for gospel impact? And so with that in mind, I want to just look at a few things here. And the first thing I want to address is a concept, but I think this is a concept that plays itself into what we choose to do and not to do when it comes to social media and digital communications. I want to talk to you about leadership capital. Now, leadership capital is a concept, and you've probably heard it used in terms of political capital, that different maybe politicians or even political parties at certain times have a certain amount of political capital, and oftentimes it has to do with the amount of trust that people place in an individual or a group, the amount of popularity they have, the momentum that they have, the influence that they have. But we want to obviously make that gospel-centered. We want to talk about how leadership capital is used for the sake of the gospel. And so I'm not going to overcomplicate this. I'm just basically want to get one thing across to you. When it comes to leadership capital, you're either earning capital or you're spending it. You're either earning influence, you're either earning momentum, you're either earning trust, earning popularity, earning that leadership capital, or you're spending it. And so you earn it in a lot of different ways. You earn it by being there for big events in people's lives. You earn it by being trustworthy. You earn it by following through with the things that you promise. There's lots of ways that we earn leadership capital. If we are living lives like Christ, where the gospel is changing us and impacting us and transforming us more and more into the image of Christ, then a lot of what we will be doing as we lead our gospel community groups and we interact with the body of Christ as believers will be earning leadership capital. People are going to trust us more, and it's going to give us momentum and influence for the sake of the gospel. Now, what that means is, and the reason leadership capital is so important, is because the more leadership capital you have, the more breathing room you have to do hard things or to take risks or to make mistakes. And I don't mean sin mistakes. I mean mistakes like you plan an event and you really believe that it's going to work. Turns out the event's a total bust. Okay, and it falls flat on its face. Well, if you've earned leadership capital, trust and momentum and influence with your gospel community group or with the people that you're leading, then you're going to absorb that mistake, that failure. You're going to absorb it without it having a deep impact on how much you are able to influence the people around you. Or think about it this way: when it comes time to confront sin within your group, if you have earned the trust and you have momentum and influence, you have leadership capital within your group and within with the people that you're leading, then when it comes time to confront sin, to say hard things to people, then you're going to be able to do that without that costing you a lot of that leadership. You have leadership capital to spare. So even if that conversation is awkward or it stings the people that you have it with, you're still going to be able to have that conversation in an effective way. And so leadership capital is a very important concept. And like I said, you're either earning capital, you're either earning it or you're spending it. And so we want to look at social media and digital communications through that same filter. When we use our social media influence, when we use our digital communications influence, we're either going to be earning leadership capital with the people in our group and the people that we have influence within our networks of relationships, or we're going to be spending it. And so social media and email and digital communications are a terrible place to spend your leadership capital. So if you're going to take risk and you're going to say hard things, a lot of that is going to be done better in person or in more intimate forms of communication. So that's just from the top one way to think about how you spend your leadership capital. You probably don't want to be spending a lot of it on social media and digital communications. However, you can capitalize on those opportunities to earn leadership capital. And so I think that is very, very important. So let's talk about that real quick, and then we're going to be done. I want us to talk about some of the opportunities that we have for impact. Opportunities we have for impact through social media. First, be an example. The people who are in your gospel community group, to varying degrees, depending on who the individual is, they are looking to you as an example of what it looks like to follow after Christ. And so we are called to exemplify Christ likeness, and we do that through social media, just like we do through anything else. We do that through digital communications, just like we do through anything else. So be an example. Speak rightly, speak kindly, speak well when you have those opportunities on social media or through digital communications. And also the things that you do, the habits that you have, the way that you use these forms of digital communication and social media are going to be the ways that many of the people in your group begin to mimic and use those things as well. So let's be Christ-like in that as we use these opportunities. Be encouraging. Use social media and digital communications to encourage people. And that may be posting encouraging scriptures, or texting encouraging scriptures, or emailing encouraging scriptures, encouraging articles, responding to somebody's post. Say somebody on Facebook has posted about how God is working in their lives. You can engage in that post in the comments section, or respond to a tweet, or comment on an Instagram, or reply to an email, or reply to a text message, and encourage them for sharing that story and encourage them in what Jesus is doing in their lives. So be encouraging. Use social media as an opportunity, whether you're the one originating the encouragement by posting original content, or retweeting content from other people that you think will be encouragement to those that you are within your gospel community group, and those brothers and sisters in Christ that you have in your social networks and your influence through text messaging and email. Be encouraging in those things, or if you're responding to what other people are posting about those things, be encouraging there as well. Be informative. Social media and email and text messaging and the city is great for this, are great opportunities to push forward blogs or books that you might be reading, or things like that you can push forward through these social medias and through email and through different opportunities like that. So if you read a great blog, especially if it applies to the sermon series or to something you talked about in gospel community group, push that out through the city, or an email, or through Twitter, or through any of those opportunities, and be informative and help educate people on the things of God through that. And another one last thing here is to be exacting. Now, here's what I mean by that, and that is, again, using that leadership capital wisely. And I think this applies itself in a lot of ways. When I say be exacting, I mean be intentional and be careful how you use social media. So like the stuff going on in Ferguson, Missouri right now, a lot of racial tension, and it'd be easy to take a blog that maybe resounded with you and just post it without a second thought. But what I'm saying is be exacting. So if you're commenting on a controversial issue, or posting something about a hot button topic, or even if you're going to call somebody out, like if you want to take a dig at Joel Osteen or some false teacher or something like that, be exacting in how you use social media to do that. Sometimes the most godly and spiritual Christ-like thing you're going to do is to refuse to hit the share button, or refuse to hit the retweet button, or refuse to hit the send button when it comes to making a post. So be exacting and post those things that are truly helpful and truly impacting for the gospel, and avoid those things that are not. Now I want to caveat here very quickly and say, again, don't be afraid to show your life through social media, but make sure that your motives are correct. Okay, so is this all about me? I'm going to post everything that I eat, and I'm going to post everything I do with my wife, and I'm going to post all these great pictures of my vacation, and I'm going to post all these godly books that I'm reading so everybody will look at me and say, what a great person? Or am I doing these things as a way of truly being an example to those in my gospel community group of what it looks like to live godly, Christ-centered lives? And so there's a fine line there. Don't overdo it to the point that it's self-centered, but don't be afraid to share your life, to share your kids growing, to say nice things about your family and about your wife. Again, not humble brags or anything like that. There's such a fine line here, and be careful with this. But don't be afraid to share the books that you're reading. Don't be afraid to celebrate the things that God is doing in your life, or be authentic about the things that are maybe struggles that you're having, or things that you need prayer with. Just be careful here. Don't overdo it, and make sure that the motives of your heart are correct in doing that. But there's a fine line here, but there's potential for great impact for us just to live our lives out there before others in Christ-like ways that deeply influence them. So don't be afraid to do those things, but do it wisely and do it carefully, and make sure that the motives of your heart are correct as you share your life in those public social media areas. All right, and then I want to finish up here real quick by saying be a champion of Redemption Church when it comes to email, text messaging, the city, social media. Be a champion for Redemption Church. And here's what I mean. Share stories. Use the city, use email, use social media, use text messages. Share stories. What is God doing in your life? What is God doing in the lives of others? What is God doing at Redemption Church? Share stories as things are happening in your own creative, in your own personal way. Encourage participation. If there's an event coming up, push those things out through the city and through text messaging and email and social media. Encourage people to be involved in what's going on at Redemption Church. Document events. If you're at a church service, or you're at a work project, or you're involved in a ministry outreach or something like that, document that event, especially those of you on social media, and push that stuff out again as a way of spreading people's awareness of Redemption Church, so that God can draw people in to hear the gospel of Jesus Christ. And so document the events, and then retweet, share, and regram every opportunity that you have, not in an obsessive way, not in an obnoxious way. And again, all of this stuff that I'm saying, it needs to be led by the Holy Spirit, and it needs to fit into what your personality is too. So don't blow up people's news feeds or be obnoxious about any of these things. But as things impact you, follow the Redemption Church Twitter, follow the Redemption Church Instagram, follow the Redemption Church Facebook page. And as those things impact you, or things are meaningful to you, regram those things, share those things, retweet those things, so that the gospel can be spread in that way. So be a champion of Redemption Church. And I want to close by saying this, because it directly applies to what's going on this weekend, and that is the fact that we are going to be pushing out our Rebellious Joy fall launch sermon series through our social media. So be aware of that, and be willing to retweet and regram and share those things as they go out on Friday and Saturday, to create a buzz within social media about the fall launch at Redemption Church. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this, and I hope you guys have an absolutely wonderful rest of your week.